Back up briefly because I started recording. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to recompress this picture because it's way too big. Right? This picture is way too big. When I brought it into Dreamweaver, I used it. I dragged it from here over to here. Right? From here over to here. And look how it's like 1 megabyte or something like that. It's very big. Okay? It's a large file. So what I want to do is I want to, and so if you look at it, here I'll show you. If I bring it in, boom, see how it takes up the whole, whew, look at that. It's taking up the whole screen. Takes up the whole screen. So what can I do in Dreamweaver to fix that? Because of course you should have brought it into Photoshop and resized it the proper size ahead of time, right? Well, I didn't do that. So my discussion right now is how do I fix that? So if you shrink it down like I shrunk it down already, I scaled it down in Dreamweaver, but again, it doesn't change the file size of it. If you go over to the Properties window and you have a graphic selected like that, you might not have noticed, but you have these little tools down here. I don't know why my window is so big here, but you have these little tools down here. Do you see them? So if you have a photograph selected inside of Dreamweaver, the first option is it's called Edit right here in the Properties window. It's called Edit in the Properties window. And so you have this one right here. It says Edit in Fireworks. There's an FW, and I know we haven't really used Fireworks, but Fireworks is a program that comes with Adobe Suite. And if you click on this, it's going to open it in the Fireworks program. So if you click on that, it's going to open up Fireworks. Now you can change that in the preferences so that instead of Fireworks being in that little box right there, instead of Fireworks being in that little box, you can change it to have Photoshop in that little box. Okay, that's in the, I'm sorry it's opening that. But if you go into the Dreamweaver preferences, you can change it in the application option. Hold on, I have to go through. It's file types and editors. Notice how it says Adobe Fireworks right here is the primary right here. It's under preferences. Again, under preferences, under file types and editors, notice it says Adobe Fireworks CS6. That's the default. That's the default when you install Dreamweaver. If you want to change that, so in that window, if you want to edit the picture before, instead of going to Fireworks to edit it, because right now it's saying, oh, open it in Fireworks. Do you want to use Fireworks PNG as the source or edit the image file directly? How about use directly? So there you go. It's inside Fireworks right now. And in this Fireworks program, which we really haven't looked at, you can actually resave it as a smaller file. It has the same tools as kind of Photoshop where you can resize things. Image size. Right, image size. So just like Photoshop, I can change the size of it, make it 500 by 899. That looks like a good size. Hit OK, and then go hit the done button, and it'll go back to Dreamweaver, and it should be already smaller. Okay, again, how did I resize this? If I have a graphic selected, there is a Fireworks right here. You can change this Fireworks to Photoshop again underneath the preferences. Under the preferences, I can change it right here. I can use Photoshop as the primary. How do I change Photoshop to primary? It says make primary. See that? Make primary. Photoshop make primary. You can do this on your version of Dreamweaver too. And if you hit apply, no, it's not going to let me apply. How about close? And now it says PS there. Do you notice now it says PS here? Because you guys are used to Photoshop probably, right? But you don't want to use Fireworks. So again, you can edit pictures right inside of Dreamweaver. You can change the preferences so it is using Photoshop. And then there's some other editing tools. There's some other editing tools in there. You have, of course, this one right here, which is a basic reformatting of it. You can change it. They have some presets in there where you can reformat, change it from JPEG to PNG to different things like that. Okay? There's a way of doing that. image optimization, but it doesn't look like it allows you to change the size, does it? It just looks like it. And that was the second option, this one right here. And the third option I thought was change size. Oh, it may not be selected because I've already changed the size. Let's try another one. Let me try this one right here. No. Let me try this one. Click on. No. No. No, I can't select that. There we go. It's a little slow. They do have a crop option. And say, hey, you're going to permanently damage it. So there's a crop option, so you can crop your picture right inside of Dreamweaver. Do you see that? And then hit the check box. And it says, hey, you permanently damaged your picture. What else do they have? This one is, I believe, a color correcting. It is sharpen. Or no, this is brightness contrast. Right inside of Dreamweaver. And then this one is a sharpness, I believe. Sharpness. So you can actually fix photos right in the program. The problem, though, you run into is it's changing the original one. Okay, so I wouldn't mess with it if you want to change the original picture. Okay, let's get to the jump menu. Do you understand now, briefly? I just wanted to go through that you can, if you're faced with the problem of images that you're dragging in are too big, or the colors or the photo isn't very good, you can do some basic editing right inside the program, right here. Right here. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to go back to the top. Again, let me review, because I started recording after a little bit late here. So if we look at the code view again, I'm going to make what's called a jump menu. The jump menu will jump to the ID. It will jump to the ID. It'll jump to the ID. How do I do that? Well, if I go up to the design view, I can click in here. I'm just going to build it right here. So to insert a jump menu, now there's a couple different ways of doing one. Probably the easiest way to make a jump menu is to use the actual form option. The form option. And in the form option, you have what's called the select menu right here, a select menu. So what you need to do it this way, there's a couple different ways to do a pull-down menu, but this is probably the easiest and quickest way, is to use the select option in the form option. Okay, select option in the form option. Now the downfall of doing this is it has to put the form tag in automatically. So any of these options, and we haven't talked about forms yet, we're going to do that next week. So next week we're going to learn about all the different all these different options you see here, all these different options. We're going to learn about all the different options, but right now the one I really want to talk about is called a select menu right here. So if I go underneath Insert Form Select, it'll put in the box right here. See the little box right here? This is the pull down menu, and if you go to the properties window, it'll give you some options. Some of the options that you can do is you can change the name. You can change the name. So this is going to be choose a poster. And you can change the text next to it. Choose a poster. I don't think the name I should have. There we go. No, actually, you shouldn't put spaces in there. I wouldn't put a space in a name. I shouldn't use capitals either. I'm not following my own naming convention. How about that? You can format colors for it. Now, I haven't done that yet, but what I could do is I can change the colors of it if I made a CSS. So we can do that later. You don't have to do it right away. The size of the boxes could be determined by the content that you put inside it. The size of the box can be, because the words, the length of the words, right? The pull-down menu would be the length of the words. Or you can designate a size. Let's put some content in. To put the content in, I use the list view values. See where it says list values right there? And I believe, let me try this, poster 1, and then the value I believe is # poster 1. Hold on, let me test this first. Poster before I go through and do them all. 2 #, poster 2. I didn't, oh, P-O-S-T-E-R. Let me test it real quick, make sure I'm doing it right. Let me test. No, I'm not doing it right. It should have jumped down to poster 2. Let me think. It's not working the way I want. Let me go into code view. No, it's not value. I'm doing this wrong. Hold on. Let me try again. It's not the select button. I swear it was the select button. Maybe I try one of the jQuery ones. Hold on. There's the tabs menu. There's the accordion one I was talking about. There's the date picker. We did the date picker already once, right? Yeah. There's the telephone. Alright, let me try again. If I put it in there, put the value in there. This is not really giving me a link, is it? It's not giving me an A link. Let me try again. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be the same way that it used to do it. Yeah, it needs a link in here. And not just a value. I'll have to think about that. Let me think. Pound sign. No, it didn't work. I don't know. I'll have to go back and try and figure that one out. Let's move on. It used to be called a pull-down menu, and I don't see it. And I don't know. Let me try one more thing. No, that's not going to work. I'll have to look at the older version of Dreamweaver. Okay. Let's move on. How about that? Let's try the tab menu. So I'm going to move on to the tab menu because I couldn't get that one to work. So the next one I want to show you is the underneath the jQuery UI. We've already looked at the data picker, right? So the two I wanted to show today would be the tabs or the accordion one. So if we go to the tabs option, it's going to go through and give you this hideous looking box. Because it's gray. It's ugly and gray. It's ugly and gray. So it gives you this hideous looking box. Now, you can customize it the way that you want, and you saw the sample on the Zircon site that I showed you earlier. So how you customize this box is a variety of different ways. Of course, right now the box actually has some CSS attached to it. Notice if you use the tabbed menu, you'll notice it gives you the jQuery here, jQuery theme, jQuery tabs, jQuery min, jQuery custom. So it takes all this JavaScript as well as CSS and puts it up here at the top. Puts it up at the top. See it up here? So if you save your file, I'm going to save. It's going to save all these extra files. So if you go under File, Save, it's saving a whole bunch of extra files. Now, one of the downfalls of using these pre-made things inside of Dreamweaver is it's going to give you a bunch of extra graphics. Notice what it's doing is it's saving extra PNGs. It's using these PNGs to kind of give you a look of the box. Now, with the look of the box, you can actually alter it inside of the CSS Designer. You're not limited to the options. So let's first look at how to adjust the tabs. Now you'll notice it says tab 1. Once I've saved it, if you notice after I've saved it, you notice if I have it selected still, the properties window will change. See how the properties window looks different now? And it says ID tabs 1. Okay, that's the first one is the ID. That's the name of the entire box. So you can actually change that name if you want. You can change the name if you want. I'm going to leave it default tabs 1. So this is the name of the box. And the reason why I'm leaving it default is because there's been CSS that's already been written that's attached to this box. That's attached to the box. The first option, you'll notice how it says panels. Panels refers to the boxes right here that you'll click on. Did you save it first?
Yeah.
You did save it? Do you see a blue box at the top up here? Yeah, if you click off and then click on, it'll change. See, if I click off and then click on, click off, click on, click off, click on.
Got it.
Okay, so again, the first box is called tab 1. You can actually change the name of that if you want. Photos, oops, photos. You can change the name of the second box if you want. Services. Change the box if you want here. Contact. And then again, if you want to add another tab, if you click on this box up here, if you click up here, you'll notice you have these names over here. See them? So if you want to add a tab, and this is very tricky, depending upon where you select in this box down here will depend upon where it adds a tab, right? If you want a tab after photos, right here, between photos and services right here, between photos and services, if you hit the plus button here, I believe since I have photos selected, it should put it right after that. Yeah, see how it put it between photos and services? Did you see that? Okay, so if I want one between there, make sure you have the one you want selected. So between photos, services, and people, I'm going to put people in there because I don't have anything else. Again, clicking on the tab right here, clicking on the tab right there. If you want to put a tab at the end, scroll down in this window to the very last option, right here, and you hit the plus sign. See the plus sign right there? Boom, it should add it to the end, right? We can call that home. So you can quickly make different data, again, by clicking on the tab, clicking on the panels, adding more tabs. Removing a tab is the minus sign. The minus sign. I believe the one that's active, is the one that's the first one active, I think. I'm not really sure, but active. And then since it's using JavaScript, remember we talked about JavaScript last week, and remember how we talked about how you can have a click or a roll mouse over? Remember the mouse over changing the photo? You notice it says event click or event mouse over. Do you see that? That is for triggering when the content changes. Triggering for when the content changes. And then height style, it's, I guess auto is going to give you the size of the box, I believe. And then disable, collapsible, I haven't really tried that. Hide, show. These are, I guess, plugins. I haven't really tried those. We'll try them right now. And again, remember I talked about how you could do it horizontal or vertical, right? Right here's orientation. You can do horizontal or vertical, depending upon if you want them to go. And then it does left side by default. At least when I tried it, it did left side by default and then top across. So how does this work? Well, you can change the content of each of the boxes. You got to be careful, though. Since we added this one in between, okay, let's think about this for a moment. Remember I told you it's going to be, if you look at the code view, it's going to have boxes that look like this in the code view, right? It'll be like div tags or something in the code view. And so if you try to do it with the code view, you have to be careful which box you're putting the data in the code view. Because you'll notice I had photos, right? That was number one, photos, right? And number two is services. But I added a tab in between. Do you see that? Remember I added people in between? The people, though, says content 4. Do you see that when I select people, it says content 4? It's actually going to be the fourth box in the code view. Even though it's the second tab in there. Does that make sense? Okay, so be careful if you're trying to do this in code view. If you're trying to do it in code view, this one's content 1. This will be content 2, content 3, content 4. Even though it looks like it's number 2 here, it's actually content 4. Now you can change the content here in the tab itself. So if I click on the first one here, let's click on the first one, photos. I can come under here and say, this is the photo section. Oh, if I spell photo right. And if I click on people, and there's a little eyeball right here. See a little eyeball right there? If you click on the eyeball, it'll take you to it. This is the people section. And if I click on services, click the eyeball. This is the services. So you can put anything you want in these boxes. Anything you want. Pictures, CSS. And then contact. And then home. Oops, if you spell information right. So again, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs with 4 different information. How do you change the information? You click on the eyeball. See that? Click on the eyeball. Takes you to the section. You can take and put pictures in there if you want. You can put pictures in there. You can hit return if you want. You can grab a photo. Which one did I resize? Is it this one? Ooh, no, I didn't resize that one. Sorry, I thought I resized that one. Let me see. Is it this one? This one looks small. There we go. Oh, we resized this one. There we go. Okay, again, you can put anything you want in each of these boxes. Anything you want in each of these boxes. If I was to preview this, let's save all and preview. If I was to preview this, you'll see I have a tabbed menu. See how as I click on the information it changes? Hence it's called a tab menu. Very easy to do. It's 100% of the width. You can put it into another div tag that can limit the size of it. You can put it in another div tag to limit the size of it. And I'll show you how to color it next. It's very simple tabbed menu built right into the thing. So in this case, I want to be able to color these. Okay. Now, if you look at the code, you'll notice that this whole box or this whole area is actually called tabs 1. Tabs 1. So if I look at the code view, let's look at the code view for a moment and see. So the box to do everything is called div ID tabs 1. Then there's a UL to make the actual tabs. See that? Just like we would make a normal menu, right? With the UL, LI, and all those things. Okay? So what's kind of driving the color is the actual word tabs 1 is what's driving the color of the entire box. So it's going to have a bunch of compound CSS built in there, and the compound CSS then will refer to tabs 1 and then things like that. So let's go to the CSS designer. Let's go to the CSS designer. And the first thing you'll notice is as you are looking at the code view, if you're in the code view and you're looking, if you click on tabs 1, notice how it jumps and changes the CSS designer to UI tabs. Do you see that? UI tabs. And then if I click over here, it'll jump to the CS designer, UL tabs nav, LIA, UL tabs collapse. Do you see that?
Wait, how did you go from the two?
I'll do it again. So again, click in the code view, and as you're clicking in the code view, it'll actually show you the actual CSS here that it's using. See, if I click on the UL, it's going to give me UL tabs UI tabs nav. Do you see that? And if I click here, it'll give me the UI tabs. So that's one way to help you try and figure out which CSS to change, because if you notice, there's 3 different CSSs up here. Do you see them? 1, 2, 3. Woo! You're like, oh my gosh, where is the CSS? An easier way to maybe find what you need to change is here. And so I was just doing, when I was testing this, I was trying to do just trial and error. And okay, so the first one I did was I go, okay, let's click on this one first. Let me go down and look for the background color. And I go all the way down to the background color, and there's no background color. You're like, oh, okay, well, when I'm looking at it, there's a background color somewhere, right? You're like, oh, okay. And so then if you go to UL nav, there's no background color there. You're like, oh. So then you go over here to the UI nav right here and click on it, and there's no background color. And you're saying to yourself, what is driving the color of the boxes, right? Because when I preview it, you'll notice there's a gray. See the gray right here, and then there's gray in the boxes themselves. So you're saying, well, what is coloring that? So I got kind of frustrated very quickly, as we always do. And then, of course, you have the tabs 1 here, too, also for the actual content. So there's a variety of different ways of looking at that. So how I changed it was the UI widget content is the one that I changed first. So again, here, let's look at how to get to it. So if I click on the tabs one right here, see how I clicked on div ID tabs one. Then instead of using the UI tabs, I clicked on the one that says UI widget content. When I clicked on the widget content, notice how it has a graphic in there. See how it has a graphic in there? So what I did was I deleted the graphic and I went down and I either gave it a solid color or I changed it to a gradient. And if you haven't tried the gradient yet, I'm going to click on it. So again, I clicked here, I clicked here, and I'm going to change it to a gradient here. I'm going to change it to a gradient. Let's start with a red, and then I'm going to add a different gradient. There we go. That's a nice color. Now, what is this color? Well, the color I found is actually behind the tabs. Behind the tabs. So it's kind of this color that I'm changing right now is the box at the top. Is the box at the top. So let's look at it now. So again, how did I change that? I clicked here, then I clicked here, then I changed it here. I deleted the graphic that was in there and I put a gradient in there. And if I preview it now, it's going to be the color behind it. There you go. See the background here? See the background? It's the color of the box, not the menu. Because it says content, right? Did you see it? It says content. So that's the color of the box. It's behind the menu. Behind the menu. I'll show you again. I clicked here. Then I clicked content. That's the color of the content box. The content box is the box. Now, notice it's going into the jQuery UI theme min right there. Do you see that? Okay, let me see if I can change the color of the tabs. I haven't.
When I did that, it changed the background color.
Yeah, it should be the background color of the content. This one.
Yeah, but the UI tabs, I tried it with red.
Oh, did it change this part?
I don't know if it changed the tab part, it changed the background of the other part.
Yeah, it changed the color of this though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because it's the content box. Okay, let me see if I can get this box. I actually was able to get this colored too. Let me figure out which one that one is. I'm going to click on here, and maybe it's the UI widget header. No. UI widget content. That's the one I just did. Okay. Let me see if I can change the content here. Let me try a solid. I was struggling to try and get the box to change. Let me see if that's the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right one. So to get the color of the tabs, I clicked here in the tab right here. Remember in there, and it gave me this one right here, and then I gave it a color here. And so,
I use next one.
what's that?
Right tops, the next one.
This one right here? That is which one? The rollover? Or no, the one in the back?
No, it's the tops work, the color change.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Let me try it.
Background.
Oh, it's the background behind it. Let me see. Ooh, ugly green. Ugly green, let's see.
Here, have it. It did change.
Oh,
No.
But it didn't change it in your CSS.
background change.
My background's still the ugly red. So I tried changing this and that didn't work. But this one worked. Maybe I'll delete that and put a gradient in there. Let's put a gradient in. Ooh, look at that color. And let's try and see if we can change the font too. Let's try that. Let's try the font. Oh, look at that. Boy, that's a pretty menu, right? Pretty ugly. We got green, yellow, red. This is like Christmas colors, right? Thanks for coming, Bob. Okay. But did you find which one to change? Did you find a color to change? Yes? So I made a new file and saved it. If I go underneath the insert jQuery UI accordion, insert jQuery UI accordion, it's going to put it in a default like it did the other one. It puts a default in like it did the other one. Again, you have a tab, almost like a tab, and then the content. You will have a tab and content, tab and content. So once you put the accordion in, you can say this is the first section, and then here is the content for the first section. If you click on the blue box, again, it'll do the same thing you did before. Notice it has something called, if you click again on the blue box up here, the blue box at the top, notice how it says header UI icon triangle. Active header UI icon triangle. What is that? Well, if you preview your option, save all, and then preview, you'll notice, see how the red is coming over? Where's the red coming from? It's coming from the previous one because it's using the same UI elements from the one I've already done, right? Remember the one that I did earlier, the tabbed menu? But notice how it has a little triangle, see, or a little what is that? No, it's not a triangle. What is this called? Yeah, I guess it's a triangle. See that? Notice how it has an animation. An animation. What is that animation? That animation is, if you click on the blue box again, you'll notice it's animated swing. Animated swing. What is the 400? That's a length of time. This is a timed-based animation. We haven't really got into too much animation yet. But if you want, you can try and change the animation if you want. I guess, let's see. What do I want to do? Ease in, ease out. What's linear? Let's try linear. Now it looks like the same, doesn't it? I don't see a difference. Let me try another one. Linear, swing. I don't know. Let's try this. Looks a little different. I don't know. Did that look a little different? I don't know. What was it? Swing? Swing? That looks the same. I don't know how to change that. How do I change the content? Again, you can click right on the screen if you want. If you want to change the content for number 2, you can click here also in this window right here. Do you see that in the panels window here? Down here, you can click here also. Again, if you want to click and change stuff, you can actually click here if you want. And you can add more if you want. More. You can remove one if you want. Again, you have an event on click. So let me show you again. Let's look at theme again. Let's try it again. So we got boom, 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 boom. You could take this accordion and squeeze it into its location. Might be very good for responsive design because you got a lot of small area. Now this thing I haven't talked to you about earlier, and this is called overflow. 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 Notice how there's a little scroll bar here? Let me show you that real quick, and then we'll stop and you can work on your project and I can come and help you. You all started working on something, right? Didn't I come around and look at your stuff and talk to you about it already, right? Okay, so here, I'm going to show you one more thing today. One more thing. Then I'll try and figure out that pull down menu. I know that there used to be a jump menu and I couldn't figure, there used to be one in there. Did everybody get the accordion to work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me show you one more thing. Let's say you have a box. Oops, I want to be outside of this thing. Hold on. No, it's still stuck inside there. Let me see if it's stuck inside there. No, it's outside. Okay. Actually, let's just start with a new file, because if I start messing with that, it's going to make a mistake. This is called overflow. Overflow. My last demo today is called overflow. Overflow. Okay, again, we have data that we need to put into a small area, right? You have a small area. You had the tab, you had the accordion, right? Okay, here's the last way. So let's say I have a limited space. I have a limited space. Let's say my space is only, let's say I have a limited space. So I have a box that's 500 pixels by 500 pixels. Right? 500 pixels by 500 pixels. A limited space. And I have more data that fits in there. Right? Maybe it's data that needs to be this big. What can I do? Well, I can give my box a scroll bar so that the user can scroll within the box. That's called overflow. Overflow is the code. Let me show you that. Again, I'm going to make a box. It's 500 pixels by 500 pixels. So here we go. I'm going to make a box by saying insert div. And I'm going to give it an ID and I call it my box, whatever you want to call it. I'm just making a box, making a div tag, which is a box. A box is a div tag. My box. There it is. I'm going to change the code for my box by going to the CSS designer. I'm going to go to the CSS designer. I'm going to say add to head, define in page, right? So I'm not going to make a separate CSS file. I'm just going to add the CSS to the page. So I'm going to go underneath where it says right here, the little plus button, define in page. Once I say define in page, it gives me a style, right? Once it gives me a style, I'm going to hit the plus button right here. And of course, I called it, what did I call it? Poundstein, my box. There it is. My box. So again, I made a box, a div tag. I told the CSS to be inside and I gave it a name, called it My Box. My Box. So click off and click on. Of course, I said I wanted it, what, 500 pixels, right? So I'm going to put in 500 pixels by 500 pixels. Okay. Oops. So I gave it a fixed size, 500 pixels by 500 pixels. Now here's the trick. Here's the trick to this box, is if you go down to where it says overflow, which way is across and which way is down, X or Y?
X is across, Y is up and down.
I'm going to say scroll. Overflow, Y, I'm going to assume Y is what I want. Y scroll. Okay? So in this case, if I have more data than can fit in the box, it'll go below the box. Don't worry. It'll go below the box in the program. But if you preview it, the box should have a scroll bar. The box should have a scroll bar. So if you have a fixed box and you have more content than you need to fit in the box, I have more content than I need in the box, right? Here's the box. I have more content than fits in the box. You can go to the overflow and say scroll, and it'll give you a scroll bar. Because that's another way that if you have a lot of data and you have to squeeze it into a spot, I have a box called My Box, and it's only, what did I say, 500 by 500. We can even make it smaller. How about we make it 300 by 300? Again, I made a box. I gave the overflow scroll, and if there's more data than can fit in the box, by putting overflow scroll, you can make a box that has a scroll bar. A box that has a scroll bar that the user can then scroll the data. And they can use the wheel on the mouse. Wheel. That's
Why in the CSS is the overflow Y crossed out?
yeah, I know. I think because it depends on how you have it selected. Like if I click outside, you'll notice it has a scroll bar. What it's telling you is your cursor's not in the location of where it is on the screen. See, if I click on the box, watch what happens if I click on the box. Boom, there's no line through it. If I click outside, boom, there's a line through it. What it's saying is your cursor is not in the location of the CSS that you're changing. That's what I'm assuming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that too. I saw this.
I thought it was something about it inherited the scroll that you, from an upper class.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming. I'm just going off my gut instinct of what I think it's for. I haven't looked it up though. By just doing this little test, just doing that little test, I was like, I saw that too. I was like, why is that doing that? Any questions about the scroll bar? Yes?
Is there a way to have like a hidden scroll bar so that if the thing is fixed, I can just like scroll with the mouse but not have that scroll bar on the side?
Maybe the visibility here. I don't know. Let's try it. Hidden. Scroll. Hidden. I don't know. Let's try it. That's what you're saying? Let's see. No, I don't see anything now. It hid the whole box. Okay, that's not good. Let's see, not hidden box. So they can scroll, but not see the scrolling. Auto? Oh, hidden. Let's try overflow hidden. I don't know. Let's try that. Oops. No. Overflow hidden. Overflow visible? Let's try that. No, it shows the whole thing. No content, no display. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Did you try it already?
I tried a whole bunch and I couldn't figure it out. I also, when I made the box fixed, like if I turned the fixed position on for the box,
Uh-huh.
then it wouldn't let me scroll even when I had the wide scroll.
You mean this position, you mean?
Yeah,
And you changed that to fixed?
yeah, I think when I changed that to fixed, and then I tried to, so that the box would stay in place, but then I wanted to scroll.
Mhm.
It was working for you?
Right now I just changed it to fixed and tried it and it's still working.
Oh, that's good.
So maybe there was something interfering with what you were trying. So these are all three of those ways. I didn't get the jump menu to work. I apologize. I'll try and figure that out. I know there was a way to do it. I'm just going to have to hand code it, I think, without using the tools in Dreamweaver to do the jump menu. Now, there's a way to do it. I'm going to have to hand code it. To do the, in fact, I have the book here that'll show me how to do it. I just have to open it up and look. So if you give me a minute, I can try to figure that out.